field that is being used as a replacement for animal therapy in nursing homes, which is really kind of awesome.
So she built planets on Earth, you guys.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Museum of Science Boston and our very special Reno Family Foundation Symposium, an evening with Ghetto Gastro. Let's make some noise. It's a Wednesday night. I'm James Monroe. I'm the senior producer of adult programs and theater experiences here at the museum, and tonight I have the extreme honor of welcoming you to this really wonderful night of conversation. It's amazing to see so many of you here with us in person. Thank you for coming out to the museum on a Wednesday night, and of course a huge hello to all of our friends who are tuning in on YouTube. Thank you for joining us as well. And tonight we are all lucky to be here with the global culinary mainstay Ghetto Gastro. Let's make some noise for them. They're right backstage. They can feel your energy. And we are such huge fans of theirs here at the museum and the way that they're using cooking and food and art as tools of resistance. And we're just really thrilled that they accepted our offer to come the whole way up to Boston for the very first time as a group as well, I believe, which is really exciting, to celebrate the release of their first cookbook, 𝗥𝗏𝗆 Kitchen. And I just want to kick things off with a huge thank you to John, Pierre, and Lester for making the trip up to Boston, for being here and sharing with all of us tonight, and of course, their entire team for making tonight possible. And this evening is a part of our current Subspace season of adult programming. We have some incredible lineup left. Every week now through the end of May, a different event or experience here at the museum. So I encourage you to check out that full lineup by going to our website at mos.org/adults, or you can pick up our season mailer on your way out tonight. Now, how the night's going to work, after the conversation, the guys will have a chance to take questions from all of you. So whether you're here in the room or you're watching at home, to submit a question at any time, all you have to do is pull out those smartphones and go to slido.com and enter the code GASTRO just as it appears on the screen right now, and we'll get through a bunch of those a little bit later on. And then if you're here in person, we encourage you to stick around for a reception right down in the Blue Wing afterwards. You can purchase your own signed copy of 𝗥𝗏𝗆 Kitchen as well from our friends from Frugal Bookstore. They'll be down there selling copies. Our special guests will stick around for a little bit to continue the conversation with you, so make sure you join us. I need to thank our friends Jack and Susie Reno and everyone at the Reno Family Foundation for their ongoing support of this symposium series and of the adult programming here at the museum. We would not be here without them, and this would not be a free event without them. So please join me in giving a huge thank you to Jack and Susie Reno. But now it's my extreme honor to welcome out our first very special guest for the evening, our dear friend and our moderator for the evening. She is a culture columnist for the Boston Globe and the creator of A Beautiful Resistance. Please give it up to my dear friend, Jeneé Osterheldt.
Glory, hallelujah, glory for plugged 1 and 2. But that glory's been denied by cassids and dookie eyes. People think they diss my person by stating I'm darkly packed. I know this, so I point at Q-tip and he states black is black. Mirror, mirror on the wall, shovel chestnuts.
How y'all doing? All right, make sure y'all energy is right for Ghetto Gastro. Y'all feeling good tonight? Y'all looking good. So we live in Boston. We live in New England, but tonight we're gonna get that Bronx culinary collective known as Ghetto Gastro. We're gonna get Les the Finesse. We're gonna get Chef Pierre, or Chef P, Pierre Serrao, who is a New Englander, by the way. And we're gonna get Jon Gray. All of you know what it is to be fed. You know what it is to be fed physically, to eat food, but you also know what it is to be fed spiritually, to be fed culturally, to be fed lovingly. And Ghetto Gastro exists to not just put food on your plate, but to give you food for thought, to give you food for culture. The way they use food to tell story, to make space for Black and brown people, to lift us, to love us, to connect is beautiful. And the way they plant their flag for the Bronx is not so different from the way Bostonians plant their flag here and how we puff our chests with pride and fill our plates. Is Chef Douglas in the house? Hey, Chef Doug. But without further ado, I want to introduce the brothers that are known as Ghetto Gastro. Please bring out the amazing Jon. Are y'all coming? I hear y'all talking. Jon Gray, are you coming? Co-founder of Ghetto Gastro. Lifting the culture, making things happen. Chef P.
Black.
LES the finesse.
Black. LES. Black on black. Yeah. Hey. Okay. Black on black. Black, my thoughts so black on black. My skin is so black. Yeah.
How y'all doing?
Bless.
That was an amazing intro. I think that's the best one we've ever had.
Oh, y'all are just being nice to me.
Definitely.
Don't gas me.
Hands down.
First, for those who don't know, let's talk about the origin story of Ghetto Gastro. How did you come together? How was this culinary collective born?
Lester and I grew up in the same neighborhood. My grandmother actually was his younger brother's 4th grade teacher. We had always talked about doing something in the food space together. He had one chopped. The momentum was good. I was like ending a career in fashion, and we said, like, let's do something that really celebrates our neighborhood, celebrates our culture, and disrupts kind of what was going on in food, art, and culture. So that's the impetus. And then P joined us 2 years after we started, and here we are.
What was it about P that y'all were like, we're going to make him part of the collective, we're going to come together like Voltron to make this happen?
His hard work. He's a really hard worker and a fast learner, and just like the hunger and thirst for knowledge and improvement. So we thought that was definitely like attributes that would make a great team member. And we were just really great friends before, so we became like best friends. We were neighbors in the time, like 2 years before he joined.
P, what was it about them that made you feel connected?
I think for me it was really about, because at that time I had stepped outside of working in restaurants, and I was looking to explore different ways of entrepreneurship in the culinary space. And like Jon said, he was my neighbor at the time as well, and they were just headed in the right direction in terms of just creating space for faces like ours, where there hasn't been any representation in for Black people of color, in the food space and the art space and things like that. So seeing that and understanding what they had going on and knowing just like their thirst to grow and just be great was kind of easy for me to see that was a place that I would be able to thrive as well.
You got to keep it real and just be like, I seen all of them tings coming in and out of the building. And I needed to see.
Ting-a-ling-a-ling.
Ting-a-ling. Jon was my neighbor, and I could see in his apartment from my apartment. So whenever I would see that it was looking promising, I would just come downstairs.
That's why you making banana tea for your daughter now.
Correct. Exactly. That's how it started.
Oh man.
But yeah, and here we are. But it's been a really amazing journey to see where we are now. From when GG was first incepted, it was Jon and Les, and having parties inside of an apartment that had no electricity, had maybe an air mattress on the ground, but like foie gras and it's foie gras and torchons and like I don't know, filet mignons getting cooked on the stovetop and stuff like that. So it was a nice juxtaposition of high and low.
Shout out to MSG for the inventory.
Yeah.
No, but I'm glad you talk about that, that whole, like you paint that whole picture, because one of the things I love about Black Power Kitchen, get your book from Frugal, is you confront the use of ghetto gastro, the word ghetto, head on. And for me, and I love that you say, we're not a monolith. All of us feel different. We all feel different about the word ghetto. But for me, as a little Black girl who grew up in the ghetto, I was super hyped about the idea of ghetto gastro and what it means to claim that and make it cook, literally, make it pop, make it fine dining. It annoys me when I hear people say, like, something is so ghetto, and it's like, or this is the ghetto, and I always correct them and say, no, that's the government. Don't attach your negativity to the ghetto, like genius is born in the hood. So can you share a little bit with the people who don't know yet, like why you chose to be Ghetto Gastro?
It's provocative. It gets the people going.
Also, like you just said, like how you wanted to like erase that connotation of the negativity that comes with the word. And there's ghettos everywhere. There's ghettos in Paris, Germany, favelas, shanties, and what have you. So that's one thing that just is universal. And you can just connect people with that one thing, because there's ghettos everywhere, and everybody needs to eat, so.
Yeah, and part of it is to indict, systemic oppression that creates underserved, underinvested in communities, but also we have to celebrate the brilliance that comes from these communities and just sometimes like attack respectability politics. Like, yeah, it's blurriness and blackness and everybody feels differently about different things because we're not a monolithic group, right? But it's like, yeah, we here, we doing fly shit, it's expensive, so, get used to it. Like, it's a new way to reframe and contextualize the word and what it means.
What is your earliest memory of food for each of you?
I'll say, like a very early memory that sticks in my head. It's not in this book, but it's in a book that was written by our friends called Black Futures, which is so I was raised between Connecticut. So she said I'm a New Englander, so I was raised between Connecticut. I consider myself a tri-state, but New England. But I was raised between Connecticut and Barbados, and my grandmother, we would make this coconut bread, the sweet coconut bread in the house when I was young, and that was like her go-to sort of staple dish. Everybody knew her for that, and for me, like my earliest moments were grating the coconut, because I wasn't allowed to do anything else. But I don't know why they would let me use a grater, by the way. I was so young. I had no knuckles at a young age. But yeah, just spending time in the kitchen with my grandmother making coconut breads and things like that, and just learning my ropes and learning my ways around the kitchen from just a young age. I can still, when I close my eyes, I can still smell those things and like smell the nutmeg and the almond essence and the different components that go into that. And those moments are very vivid in my mind when I think about food. I can't think about like the first thing I ate. I know my first word was milk, and the first word I could spell was steak. So I think that I was off to the races from a young age. But yeah, time in the kitchen with my grandmother in the islands was definitely something that's cemented in my brain for a long time.
My first vivid memory of food probably would be like, I used to have dinners with a pretty big family. Like, I got a lot of older cousins than me, and I used to get the food snatched off my plate if I wasn't paying attention. So I said, I'm gonna learn how to cook my own food so I could just keep some food in the stash. Nobody can snatch nothing off my plate anymore.
I think I have two early poignant food memories. One was I went to this after-school program at the 92nd Street Y, and we made a cookbook, like when I was in kindergarten. And I remember my contribution to the cookbook was ants on a log. So this was celery, peanut butter, but I did it with cranberries instead of raisins. And then also, I used to go out to eat with my mother often because she was a single mom, working in the city, like doing hair, and then getting her degree at night, so she always didn't have time to cook. But we used to go to this spot called First Wok on 88th and 3rd Avenue. I was living in Spanish Harlem at the time. And I remember this older woman there, and she used to always order the lemon chicken. But I told her, like, get the orange chicken, and I told her why it was better than the lemon. And then she did that, and after her meal, she was like, you're such a remarkable boy. So I just remember having like a boost of confidence coming from food, and I think that might be like part of the inception or the seed that grew inside me to love food. And I became responsible for ordering for the table at a really young age too.
I love that. For me, it was definitely crab legs, that smell of Old Bay, being from the DMV area.
The area.
The area. I want to talk a little bit about the podcast and this first season and how you're interviewing different people like Questlove and Black Thought with the chopped cheese episode, but you're also talking to like food historians, and using food really as a way to connect and learn more about people. How did that come to be, and where is it going next?
We got to see what Audible come through with that next baggage claim. See if we got to take this show on the road. But nah, like we view food as a portal to culture. So being able to tap in with luminaries from all fields, like you mentioned, food historians, musicians, entrepreneurs that own pizza shops, but like folks like from different types of entrepreneurs, like Jing, who owns Fly by Jing, and our friend Rocky. But yeah, really just wanting to tap in, and like for us, it was an exercise in learning, you know, and understanding histories of dishes, and just really most of the things we do is just an excuse to have a good time with friends, and hopefully leave something behind that is useful to the general public, right?
Yeah, and so the book was out, and a friend of ours, Winston from 𝗙𝗺𝗏, he reached out, and he hit me. He probably hit all of us in the DM, but I responded, and he was like, "Yo, the Amazon team, the Audible team wants you guys to do, you know, they have this opportunity to create this audio series, and they would love if you guys did it." And it took us a little while to kind of like bounce ideas and subject matter around internally before we landed on what we have now, which is called In the Cut with Ghetto Gastro. It's only from Audible, but you can listen to it on any platform. And yeah, for us, it was really just about being like the connection, and also giving people like an audio view into some of the chapters in our book too. So we wanted to kind of have a cohesive flow in the conversation from the book into some of the things that were relevant to us that we found would be a good introduction into the ethos and the ideas around Ghetto Gastro, how we think, how we move, how we build community, how we see the future growing, and also about our past as well. We have John's mom in there on an episode about CMOS, so we're talking about health in the communities and things like that. We have Black Thought and Questlove on the chopped cheese episode, and
They converted Questlove to a
converted
full
him.
New Yorker.
He left Philly. He came over.
Philly's gonna get him.
Yeah, he's not allowed. He's
made
done
the
in
right
this town.
choice, man. He made the right choice.
He made his next move his best move.
But it's also like the interesting thing about that with the podcast is one thing to talk about like the Black history part of food and dining and culture, but what's most important to us is being able to give stories about the Black future, and food is a great way to do that because it's a way to tell stories. It's a storytelling vessel, so we want to keep the tradition going and add not change the stories, but add on to the stories, and almost like the King James version of the Bible, So that's what this book is right here. That's the Bible right there. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. Wolf life. We only layer flavors, man.
I was literally about to go into Wolf. We only layer flavors, and the 3 C's. Go ahead and tell me about the 3 C's.
Well, triple C's is the cornbread, crab, and caviar, and those ingredients are really important to our community because one, like corn, is one of the indigenous products of the Americas that was exploited, and the crab. When you think of crab, you think of crabs in a barrel. And one thing about crabs, similar to the communities we're from, we don't belong in a barrel. We belong to be, on the earth, in the ocean, widespread. So it was one way to just touch that subject, like don't keep us in the barrel, keep us out. And the caviar, it's always black on top, So and caviar, and when a lot of people think of caviar, they think of the opulence of a Eurocentric product, when in all actuality, caviar actually comes from, like the Black Sea area, the Caspian Sea, and that's like touching Asia and Africa, and we have Asia predominantly. But yeah, so we just wanted to make sure that people knew Black is always on top, and there's opulence on top, and there's luxury.
And
it's delicious.
It is delicious. But I wanna get into a little bit of what Les is saying about kind of taking the history into the future and Black future. Shout out to Kimberly Drew. Chef P, you were saying something backstage about taking your grandma's recipe and then turn it into like a banana bread almost, and like that's kind of your way of taking like family history into the future. Let's talk a little bit, and how you're giving your daughter banana tea and using the banana skins. Can we talk a little bit about how we lose so much all throughout the diaspora? We lose so much of our history and our culture as our families move, as our families were, our ancestors who were formerly enslaved, immigrating. There's just a lot that happens through assimilation, through indoctrination, through just the sheer nature of oppression that kind of sometimes strips us from our story. And food is a way to keep it, it's a way to preserve it, and it's also a way to grow it forward. And you do so much. This is so much more than a cookbook. It really is kind of a cultural touchstone, and there's something really beautiful and magical about using food this way. It's not totally different from what Carrie Mae Weems did within the kitchen in that portraiture series, and just kind of taking this really precious way of space keeping. Can you talk a little bit about how intentional you guys are about that, about making sure we're always thinking about our Black future and our Black history, and the teaching that goes on, whether it's, Amy Sherald and Carrie James Marshall's like artwork in here, and conversation, a really amazing conversation with A$AP Ferg and also Thelma Golden, but it's really beautiful work.
You really read the book, huh?
Yeah, I think for us it's really about knowing where to meet people on different planes, because the three of us, each of us learn differently. So we know that for our audience and for everybody else out there that, some people are visual learners, some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people learn by action and by doing. So we wanted to create, a sort of artifact that when people opened it, no matter where you are, if you are into art, that you'll open up some of these pages and be really attracted to the art, and then hopefully that'll lead you to reading into the stories and understanding a little bit about the meaning behind the movement. But when it comes to the Black futures of it all, I think it's about, we hear this saying all the time, you have to know where you've been to know where you're going. And for us, that's really important at GG. So we tap into our elders and to, the people in our community whom we've learned so much from in order for us to create, whether it's a dish, merchandise, an experience, or a product, we need to know for us just like what our ancestors were doing. And before slavery and before they were moved over from the continent, and how these ingredients got to these places. And we've really lost a lot of contact and connection with the food in our communities. And for us, we really want to bring back that connection and get people back into the kitchen, get them excited about the things that they're putting into their bodies, so that we know, we say that you have to have a high intake with premium goods to have a premium output, So if you want to put out good into the world, you have to put good into your body. So we start with that. We learn from our past, and we just create from the heart. And we also create kind of selfishly too at GG. We create things that we would want to see, that we would want to eat, that we would want to experience, and hopefully, it resonates with people. And if not, then try again. But
if not, beat it.
Let's talk about what it means to be in alignment when you're collaborating, because you have a lot of collaborations. Young Williams Sonoma, are we allowed to talk about Target?
Yeah, we can talk about
everything is
everything.
going to be stocked in Target. You've got the fashion happening.
got the food products.
Food products, syrups. I've been looking, I've been researching, doing my thing. I've been cooking.
To see you.
Well, that's a lie. I ain't been cooking. I made the juice. Let me be honest. I made the juice.
How was the juice? Did you like it?
I am a power juice. People who follow me on Instagram know this. I'm a power juicer. I love smoothies. So yes, I loved it. This thing happens when you are Black and kind of holding space for the community, and your profile is rising, and brands want to get on. They want to collaborate with you. And sometimes it works and it's like there's alignment, it makes sense, it's a good partnership. But sometimes it's like very much like they are exploiting Blackness for profit. How do you navigate partnerships? How do you discuss among yourselves what's going to work, what's going to make sense for the brand and the community?
Well, when we're approaching collaborations on the commercial side, but really collaboration in general, it's really about a like mind. And I think because we have a name that's kind of controversial, we have it in our fee is crazy too. So it's like we have a lot of filters that kind of weed out like bad actors before we even have a conversation. But I think the main thing is like, are these things that we like? Do we use these products or do we shop at these stores? Like, we used to go to Williams-Sonoma and buy the products there, have events, return them after. So it's like, it's full circle, you know what I'm saying? So that partnership made sense. Like, Target, everybody goes to Target, you know, Rihanna to, like, whatever. I need washcloths, I'm in Target, you know what I'm saying? So it's like thinking about, like, do we use these things in our life or do we like the people? And it's really humans because you're never collaborating with entities. Mm-hmm. It's like, who are the humans at the entity? And if you can vibe, then y'all can make something good. But oftentimes where there's friction in the beginning, for me, or for us, I think we could probably all concur, it probably means it's not gonna work. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it might not be a good match. And then sometimes, like if it's ethically challenging, capitalism is just an evil system for the most part, right? So everything is gonna have a bit, so you just gotta like have your kind of values and figure out also like, if you're securing a bag, is the good you're gonna do with the bag better, make more sense than, you know, whatever. So many bad things that corporations do that it's hard to keep track of. But
is the juice worth the squeeze?
Is the juice worth the squeeze?
You know, it's like,
there it is.
We know that all money isn't good money. So we've definitely been through, you know, trials and tribulations, whether it's with entities or even with people who are looking to create experiences in certain moments. And in the past, we used to look at things and kind of like jump on them because there were opportunities. But when there was, I mean, like we used to take.
We did some bad things. We did some. Just like two. That's like one or two things though.
We got three. Top three. Rubensteiny, Africa's Out, Fok.
But Africa's Out was lit, but the kitchen was fucked up. I know it's kids in the audience. I'm sorry for my language. I didn't see y'all at first because
Africa's Out. Oh, so we did a dinner, and he said it was lit, except the kitchen was messed up. Like, no, it wasn't lit. Because
it would have been lit if we had the proper kitchen.
Yeah, we were going down in flames.
Yeah. All right, so that's 3. 3 in 10 years isn't bad. You know what I'm saying? Our batting average is high. Yeah. But those we weren't even doing for money. One of them we did for money.
But those are learning experiences nonetheless.
Man, such evil people.
Well, what else have you learned since Waffles and Models? Because basically you just shared some learning experience. How have you grown and evolved since then?
I think we've learned, Mike. One thing that we've learned was, you know, just changing the narrative of who and what rich people should be, wealthy people should be. You know, like, you know, why should all the white men have all the fun and have all the money and be able to, let's say, like dictate what the culture is. You know, it's like, give us the bag, we'll show you what to do with it in a luxurious way, in a sustainable way, and you know, just facilitate the vibes. You know. It's because a lot of people have money, but a lot of people don't know what to do with their money. They're living very tacky, and they're not, you know, they don't really have the bandwidth to, you know, reach the masses like we can. So it's looking at those type of people that I just described and figuring out what we could do to not ever be those type of people, and to always feed people's minds, bodies. Not only feed their bodies, but feed their minds and their souls as well. Like, give them a tangible product that has a long shelf life. Like, figuratively as well. You know, shelf life is very important to us. You know, we want to, like with the book, it's like one of those tangible products from Ghetto Gastro that's going to be a product that's going to be able to withstand the test of times, and we're going to be able to see this book like 200 years from now. It'll be a relic, but it'll still be relevant, though.
No, it'll be a book that's passed down, just like I have books that were like cookbooks that were passed down in my family. Like that'll be something that someone gives to the next generation.
This is definitely something that you're going to see in the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, for sure. So.
Well, and the Blacksonian.
And the Blacksonian, for sure.
Always love to the
all of the
Blacksonian.
above, man. Let's go.
But I want to back to the book and something you said about evil capitalism. There's almost like a manifesto, a calling in this book, a call to action, where you're listing off like certain things you can have in your kitchen, cooking plant-based, and how we know that the bodega and like some of the neighborhood markets don't always have those ingredients. As we look at gentrification and housing crisis and just the inflation that very real inflation we're in right now, I feel like you doing this kind of thing and just leading by example and modeling that is creating sort of it's subverting a trope. Like people think, you know, oh, we don't eat plant-based, so then they don't stock it. Oh, they're not going to buy that, they don't stock it. But our people have actually always eaten plant-based. Can you talk a little bit about subverting those tropes and also sort of putting those tacky rich people, like putting them in check and saying, look, actually you need to stock for our community. We're not going to tolerate these food deserts.
Well, I think the main thing is just recognizing that the enemy's not going to save us, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's like more internal conversation than talking to an external. Like we know all the policies, things need to change, but a lot of it's internal. So it's like having an understanding and making things that also are delicious for our palates, right? Like often when people are thinking about natural, better for you, they're not thinking about black people, brown people, and the flavors that we enjoy. Or because also, how would they? It's not us making it. So I think when we have a for us bias approach, like Pete said earlier, like we're speaking to ourselves, you know, and we recognize we come from a place of privilege, but we're still boots on the ground to understand what's really going down.
Yeah, and we have a saying at GG, like if you want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, you go together. You know, over the years, we've just been able to see the ability of the teamwork and the strength in numbers, and how our brand, for us, is bigger than the three of us on the stage right now. It's more of the idea around Ghetto Gastro. We want to be able to give people, you know, foundational information and keys to different levels of success, whether it's self-betterment and self-mastery, or if it's just about learning how to handle ingredients differently and how to use fruits to apply to get sweetness, natural sweetness into your food versus using refined sugar, and different ways to use ingredients to kind of like remix your cabinet a little bit. For us, we really want to be the mouth of the global South and represent these ingredients and these stories, and translate them to our community and to our people, because before we were eating all these commodified ingredients like, you know, soy and wheat and sugar and stuff like that. We were eating the sorghums, the cassavas, the brown rices, and the amaranths and things like that. So we want to, just recreate it in a way that's tasty, delicious, that's fun and easy for people to emulate in the house. And it's really just about opening up your minds. And we've been indoctrinated in this country to think about food a certain way, and we at Ghetto Gastro, we want to kind of unlock, just like a new way of thinking around food and around community as well.
Level up. So with my mic, man.
You got the hand
handheld. I like the Janet Jackson shit.
Rhythm Nation.
Another thing that you've touched a little bit on, but I want to get a little more into, is kind of like, we're not a monolith, and we're here in Boston, and you guys are in New York, and one of the things I love about both places is that
That's a very hard relationship.
it is a hard relationship. Y'all are making the New England tri-state, the New England,
Ask him
New
what
York
teams he like.
thing work. There is a hard beef, plant-based and not, between the two. But there are striking similarities to me. One of them is neighborhood pride. Another is there are so many different types of beautiful Black people in both places. Like, it's not only Black Southern Americans like myself, but there's also, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cape Verdeans, Ghanaians, Nigerians. I mean, it's expansive. It's all over the diaspora, and the recipes that you guys cook up reflect that. They reflect kind of the expansiveness of us. And I think that's really important, especially as we look to move forward and better ourselves in this country, whether it's just being spiritually fed or politically empowered. I want to talk a little bit about all those things. I know you grew up in both Barbados and Connecticut, but talk just about the cultural nuances of Black identity and food.
Well, yeah, I think our story is really a celebration of like Pan-Africanism and thinking about how much beauty and the contribution from the continent and how these contribution and things have changed. Like, we were recently in Monrovia in Liberia, and like we did a project with the U.S. Embassy around gumbo diplomacy, right? So looking at dishes that like kind of boomeranged, right? So you had enslaved people that were captured and brought here, and then a few hundred years later went back to the continent, right? But they're taking, like, gumbo is Wolof for okra, which is a Senegalese tribe, like the Wolof tribe. So like you have gumbo in the South, and it's an okra-based like situation soup, but then they go back to Liberia and they bring okra back, and like they bring hogs. So it's like just thinking about how food and how people and traditions travel and celebrating that. And it's also just deeply inspiring to us. Like, these are things that we didn't learn in textbooks, right? Like, we had to like learn from people, from the places, travel to places, and we feel like we have the privilege and it's our duty to share these stories and the beauty of, Blackness in a global way.
Yeah, to represent, and just to represent the global South, not just the South in the United States, but the Southern Hemisphere, and paying homage to our ancestors, making our ancestors proud. That's like our main objective, you know what I mean? And to highlight the pillars of our community, the women that raised us, I know when you asked me earlier, my first memory of food, I can't quite pinpoint my memory of food, but I do remember the kitchen being a place of congregation, where my mother would talk shit on the phone to bill collectors, to her friends, spilling all of the tea or receiving the tea, what have you, and me listening to that, me being around that, me being my mother's firstborn and being attached to her hip, and being having a protective attitude, losing my father at a young age, at 3 years old, being forced to become the man of the house at an early age and take on responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities was making sure we all eat, because we got to eat. It's one of those things that are vital to our health. So, just taking that notion of being the head of the household and taking control and being poised and giving.
Yeah, and for us, it's like each of us come from similar yet different backgrounds, right? And we want to express to people that we understand that there's Blackness, like the guys were saying, universally, whether it's Connecticut or the Bronx or Barbados or Brazil. Each of us have different experiences, but the contribution to the culture has been immense, and we haven't been able to reclaim any of that and bring it back to our community, right? And show, like when you think about hip hop and just, in the Bronx, it's like hip hop and salsa and reggaeton and things like that. But the community in the Bronx doesn't reap any of those benefits of hip hop and being the birthplace of the biggest music genre in the world, right? So for us, we want to reclaim that energy, own it, and then be able to share it with our people, and also so people understand and they can see themselves in us and be like, oh, okay, well, you know, for the West Indians or people who are West African or people who are from certain communities, it's like, you know, we all experience life in a similar way, whether it's maybe you don't have food, maybe everybody, not everybody, but, you know, there's a lot of people out there who know what it is to be hungry and have their lights, have to choose between having your lights on or having food on the table. And but there's also people out there who had both parents and who were able to have things provided for them, and maybe not have to have it as hard, but they might have had family members who have had experiences that connected them to the similar things too. So like just understanding just the levels of blackness and our contributions and how important just sticking together is. Honestly, for us, it's really just about how community builds immunity. I'm from a very big family, and we call ourselves the cousins by the dozens, and we pride ourselves on like being there for each other no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter what you did, you could be wrong, but you know, we're gonna have your back. And that's really been important to us at GG as well. It's just because that's what's brought us to this place that we're at now, is having a strong foundation of people behind us, around us, who can relate to us and who, you know, believe in us to, you know, get us to this point where we're on stage and we have books and products in stores and things like that. So
it's not only food recipes in that book, it's recipes for success. You know, it's really interesting stories in there, interviews, so you become immersed in that, and it's an experience. You know, we wanted to provide an experience just like we do at our events. That was kind of like our claim to fame. You know, waffles and models, and you know, freestyle Fridays, and you know, coming to the hash house and just building and, you know, conversing with one another and trading stories. And oh, my mother makes her collard greens like this, kind of, sort of, and you know, but my aunt, she's my uncle married a Puerto Rican woman, my Aunt Millie, and she makes this amazing sofrito. So that's one of the things that we had to put in the book as well. You know, just to connect these stories and connect the global South.
Well, and even having A$AP Ferg and 𝗙𝗺 Gold, just the expansiveness of the people that you're interviewing, the conversations that you're having, and then the art. I'm just blown away by so many of the artists that you have featured in there. Dream is a hero of mine. But can each of you kind of shout out, I know you just said the sofrito, but can each of you kind of shout out a recipe, or not just, each of you shout out a recipe and either an interview or a piece of art in this book that really stands out to you?
I'd say for a recipe, I'm gonna just shout out my mom. She did the ginger beer, that's her recipe. And then interview, I would say Dream, because it's about, you know, traveling and like the romantic side of traveling, and sometimes the sides that are less romantic, like, you know, sometimes your first trip to Africa might not be exactly what you expect, right? Because Americans feel their blackness, whereas like when you're on a continent and it's a majority black space, you might not feel it the same way. So it's a different kind of vibe. So I really enjoyed the conversation with Dream.
I just want y'all to know I met Dream Hampton in Italy at Loophole, and I cried because she knew me, and she's literally why I write. And it's very special. You guys definitely should read that interview.
Dream is amazing, and shout out to Dream. Dreamy Fresh, we love you. I think for me, I'm gonna put something into context for everybody too, because we've said waffles and models a few times up here. One of the images that's circulating right now is it's the Black Power waffle, and the image next to it is what's it called? 𝗙𝗺𝗁 from Arthur Jaffa. Just the whole story around that for me is really important. Interviews in the book are great, but I think for us, like waffles and models is something that's like pivotal to the growth of Ghetto Gastro. It's this image right here, these two images together. We got like popping doing a party called Waffles and Models. It started off, 2013, and then we brought it to Paris in 2016. We did it one in the spring and then one in the fall of 2016. It was a party. Basically, it was, you know, waffles, chicken waffles, good drinks, great music, and we had some exotic dancers and things like that to add a little, add some more.
Cardi B.
We had Cardi B at the first party.
Razzle dazzle.
Add a little razzle dazzle to the function, and what that did was that kind of like put us into a different space. We were bringing waffles and models and having these parties during Paris Fashion Week, but it wasn't a fashion party. It was just a party during Fashion Week, and when it came around time for us. It was before the pandemic, I want to say 2019. We had the opportunity to create a line of kitchen appliances. And one of the first appliances that we knew we had to do was a waffle maker, because we were like, we doing waffles and models. It's only right if we do the waffle maker. And then from that, now the products are now the waffle maker's in stores. And once we had the waffle maker, we were like, all right, cool. Well, we got the waffle maker out. Now we have to have the waffle mix and the syrup to go along with it. So it's really just about like the whole story around the waffle and how important it's been to like the growth of Ghetto Gastro.
And an air fryer for the chicken.
Yes, exactly. You need the air fryer for the chicken, you need the waffle maker for the waffles, and you can put it together. But really, it's just really interesting to see how far just like this one dish has been able to take us, and how we've been able to navigate sort of entrepreneurship with just not only just a waffle, but with our eyes, with a lens on a waffle in general. I think for me, right now, just in this moment right now, that's a really important dish, recipe, image, story, just in general
I also think it
to
speaks
us.
to the continuity of your deep commitment to accessibility, because that's something, no matter who you are, you can wrap your head around, is a waffle.
Yep. And it's gluten-free, dairy-free, all of the things.
The new version in Target is gluten-full.
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 But we have the gluten-free, which is available online. And when we talk about being the mouth of the global South, we're using ingredients like brown rice and cassava, cocoa butter, things like that.
Coconut sugar versus cane sugar.
In the
waffle mix.
In the red velvet, we have strawberries and hibiscus,
hibiscus.
And to get the natural colorings and
Y'all
different
hungry?
flavors. Yeah, so I think the waffle in general has just been a really cool product and focus for us at Ghetto Gastro. How we've been able to just take it from this one thing and make it into these different businesses. That's been really amazing.
You grew it into a stack.
I like that. You got bars.
Yeah.
Sometimes, that's my razzle dazzle.
Favorite dish? I got a few, man. It depends on my mood and
If you had to
and the
pick one out the
seasons.
book
All
right
right,
now.
it's the season now, right? It's like kind of like chili, so I'm gonna have to say we go with that Stewie Newton, and it's one of those dishes that are very community-based. You got everybody in the community that could bring something to the table, put something in the pot. You got the beans, you got the mushrooms, you got all of the good accoutrements that go with it as well. One pot meal, hearty. And also it represents, Brazil, the favelas in Brazil. Brazil has the second largest population of Africans outside of Africa. And to my Cape Verdean roots, so I wanted to put that in there and just have people be able to have access to those stories, those ingredients, and those type of foods, and get the story behind it. And also the green for the money, because collard greens represent prosperity in our community, and people are used to having collard greens that are braised and cooked for hours, and this is one of those dishes that you can chop the greens up and add some different soy sauces and misos, and some ginger, some fried garlic and shallots, and just some amazing. Just some
And it's
amazing-
raw. It's a raw salad too.
It's a raw salad too. So if you're a raw vegan, that's good for you.
Look, they hungry. The food vibrations are high.
High vibrational cuisine on this side. And as far as interviews, I really like the Thelma Golden interview, with how she references the bromance between the Bronx and Harlem, and how you always have that friendly competitiveness with neighborhoods, similar to like Boston with Roxbury and like the Southeast, You know what I mean? They both, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know, similar to that, but
you guys love your neighborhoods, and you know it's all love at the end of the day. So like the food brings the people together. Like.
You know, it's like Roxbury and Dorchester.
Roxbury and Dorchester.
I got you, Les. I got you.
I was halfway there.
He's from the Bronx.
that's impressive.
But just
New
so we're
Yorker,
clear, it's the black of the Roxbury.
Right. Oh,
Black of the Roxbury, the sweet of the curry.
What's next for Ghetto Gastro? What's
Global regeneration, man. Nah, just more products, more stories, more merch.
Season 2 in the cut with you, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm coming. I'll come to New York gladly.
There's more, man.
That means y'all can come be on a beautiful resistance. It can go.
We can swap it out.
The only time less is more doesn't apply when it comes to the future of Ghetto Gastro, man, because we got more in store.
Yeah.
So we have a audience member asking what exactly is food vibrations and how you got introduced. I want to get that question right. How you got introduced to a plant-based diet and how important it is for the community.
Well, it's high vibration because you plant-based. I would say plant-based is high vibrational because you're not putting any dead products in your body. You know, all the ingredients from plant-based products are alive and thriving, and they're still growing. And I feel more energy. I feel more serotonin. You know, I feel more enlightened and light and not as heavy as I would with like certain dairy products and things like that. Like, we're not here to demonize any ingredients at all. You know, our food is already weaponized enough in our communities, and
John just had a chopped cheese.
I was about to say, shout out to Poppy.
Well, John and I's different. John and I's diets are a little different. So, but to each his own. You know what I mean? Like my guy, he still eats the chopped cheeses. I'd rather eat the chopped stees. You know. It's an alternative, and we're giving our people alternatives to these classic dishes, these popular dishes that we so used to eating growing up. You know, we giving alternatives with the plant-based.
Yeah, I gotta shout out Poppy Vivi's for the chopped cheese. It's amazing.
Well, and I know Chef P's family got down at Mita.
Yeah, we got down at Mita. Shout out to Chef Douglas Williams. I know he in the
But
building.
yeah,
so.
like for us, it's really a balance. Like we push the plants in our book because we know it's a deficit of delicious dishes put on the platform for our culture to understand. Like, there are different ways, but we got jerk chicken in there, right? We got
Cornbread with
fried
caviar.
fish. We got cornbread and caviar. So it's like, it just happened to be like the way we built this book was based on the outline of the chapters, and we were like, all right, what dishes serve the bigger body of work? So, and it just happened that I guess maybe 80-90% of them were plant-based. But yeah, that's kind of how we like to do it, to hit you with that, oh, this is delicious, and it's like, by the way, there's no meat on that, right? It's no dairy in that. So
just to follow up on their question.
And 𝗙𝗺 is vital. So we learned about the plants.
From
It's
the
like
Rastas,
it's not new for our community. Like the Rastafarians have been eating, raw foods since the jump, since the beginning of time, sea moss and things like that. So for us, it's about really reclaiming those narratives and holding those stories and being able to have the ownership of those things and to share the stories with the community how we see fit, more or less.
Shit ain't new to us. It's true to us.
Mm-hmm.
But to finish their question, when you say food vibrations, are you talking about how it makes us feel?
Yes, exactly. It's a vibration. It's like how it makes you feel. Les said it really well. You're putting life into your body. You're gonna have energy.
it's like when you go to the gas station, if you're pulling up in that G-Wagon, you're gonna put 93 in it. You know what I'm saying? So treat your body like a temple. So, don't put like the low octane fuel in your body if you're trying to operate at a high level.
I know we're getting down to time, but there's one more audience question, then I have a question. the banana tea has hit the chat.
Okay.
They want the recipe.
Banana peel tea. So just take your banana peel.
Hold up. The game is to be sold, not told.
That'll
Just
be in the
one
next.
freebie
That'll be in the
tonight.
next book, High Vibrational Cuisine. Nah, we'll give y'all some free game for tuning in. But like if you're making any of our desserts, like the roasted plantain gelato or anything like that, there's a mole that's made with plantains as well. There's a curry that's made with pistachios and plantains. Any of the bananas, or plantain skins that you may have, you can just honestly boil it with water on the stovetop. And what that does is the tea itself just helps increase the melatonin level, so it'll help you sleep better at night instead of just taking them and throwing them in the trash. Just different ways to repurpose the ingredients and to stretch the work, and also get your kids to sleep, because I got a 3-year-old and I give her some banana peel tea and some pistachios, and she sleep through the night real easy.
And if you don't make tea, don't throw it in the trash. Put them in compost, man, so we can add to the quality of your life, add to our, the universe.
Put some nitrogen in the soil.
Put some nitrogen in the
From
soil.
soil to the oil.
You could cook the banana peels. You can cook the banana peels down with a little bit of sugar, add a little bit of oat milk, cook it down. It'll be like a caramel. You could blend that, and you can actually eat that. Like if you pass it, you can eat it. So it's like almost like a caramel with banana peels. Different things you can do with the ingredients, but that's not in the book. But there's a lot of flavor in the book just in general. But
zero waste. Y'all got enough gems in there. We call that a cookbook. Y'all got a lot of game for free. Man. Y'all got a lot of game in there for 40 cash. It's actually, it might be cheaper now, like 20 cash now.
Amazon be messing the game up for the independent.
No, we getting ours from Frugal.
We getting ours from Frugal.
And we not being frugal with the dollars, man.
I got
Trickle
mine
those
from
nickels.
Frugal. It was 40. It's worth it. It's priceless for real.
And it's signed too, so.
And it's signed.
And it's first edition.
And the resale value is up.
You get it now, like you don't want the resale Jordan. You want the
They might limit you on how many copies you could buy because the resale value so high.
Buy one to keep, one to beat. One to beat, one to keep.
My last question, we talked a little bit. I'm the founder of A Beautiful Resistance, where we celebrate Black joy and Black life. And the question I ask everybody that I'll ask each of you is, what makes your life a beautiful resistance?
I have a mantra that every day above ground is a good day, right? So I think just waking up, constantly seeking to improve, to be of service. I think being of service to communities, first and foremost, that I care about, which is my own, that's just like a gift to be able to turn negatives into positives and be of service.
A beautiful resistance. I mean, rest is a form of resistance. So we have been on the road since probably like October, like straight from October to the end of February. And once March hit, I feel like I stopped answering emails. Like if you need me right now, honestly, like I need some time for myself to think, to clear my head, to get inspired, and to also to just decompress. We have a need in our country to feel like you have to go, you have to grind and until the wheels fall off. But in all reality, it's all about longevity, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. So being able to keep the tempo on a steady playing field in order to like make it through. We're 10 years into this, and we've been traveling around the world for 10 years and, doing these different things and these different moments and these experiences, and it takes a lot out of the body. So for me and for all of us, I think we really appreciate just like a little time to not do the most. Yeah.
That time is coming to an end in 4 years.
Y'all took
It was nice while it lasted.
It was fun.
It's a blessing, though. It's a blessing.
Y'all gonna let Let's talk?
Just wait on it.
I took the answers I was going to say, man. So I would say, like, no, a big form of resistance would be to grow your own food. I work with a couple of community gardens in the Bronx. I contribute. I have my own garden box, and I plant peppers and garlic and onions and scallions and things like that. So being able to grow, produce your own food, because they say money doesn't grow on trees, but is quite the contrary. It does. Like money and currency is in the food, is in the ingredients some of the ingredients that we can't even get access to in our stores in our communities, you know. So it's a privilege to be able. It's a privilege and it's a form of resistance to be able to grow our own products. So I would urge people to grow and show, man.
In the words of our dear friend Ron Finley, plant some shit.
Shout out to Ron Finley,
Shout out to
LA,
Ron Finley.
West Side, the best side.
The gangsta gardener.
Ghetto Gastro, seeing y'all brotherhood and your friendship as black men cooking, as black men making space and growing us forward. I just want to thank you for sharing your beautiful resistance, and thank you for being with us, bringing Bronx to Brooklyn for the night. James.
To Boston.
Yeah, Jesus, Bronx to Boston. I'm sorry, Boston. I know where I'm at.
She know what it is.
I know where I'm at. I live in Boston, baby.
Big B's, man. Boston Road to
We
Boston,
fast-forwarding
Mass.
into
You
the
already
weekend.
know.
I'm going to New York this weekend. My brain is just all over the place, but this is home, baby.
We got an avenue in the Bronx called. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but we got a road in the Bronx called Boston Road, and if you stay on Boston Road, it'll lead you all the way to Boston.
It's
Like,
the
no
original
cap.
post road. So yeah, that was the Route 1 postal route.
So we got Boston in the Bronx too.
connected.
You already
The Bronx and Boston.
The connection is there. The connection is strong. Thank you for your brotherhood.
Thank you.
Keep it going for Ghetto Gastro. Thank you guys so much for coming to the museum, for being our headliner.
That was
Thank you to
amazing. Thank
Jeneé for your ongoing partnership. We're going to say goodnight to our live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to